In this segment, we're going to be discussing this clip from Robert Jenrick, who's put up an absolute disaster class in campaigning. Him and Badenoch are really trying to take the biscuit here for who can put up the worst leadership campaign. And so in this clip, we're going to be talking about Tom Tugendhat throwing the armed forces under the bus here, really, and accusing them of war crimes potentially.
You did say our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists. So you think or know that's happening now?
Well, Ben Wallace, as you rightly quote, said that there are...
This is about what you say. You said yesterday
I'm
our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists.
Yes, the point that I was making, very much like our former Defence Secretary was making, is that as a result of the constraints imposed upon our armed forces by the ECHR...
We are killing rather than capturing terrorists. Do you know this has happened or this is happening now? Because you stated it in very bold terms in that video.
Well, the point that Ben Wallace...
This is kind of falling into the Tories desperate to kind of use the ECHR as a political weapon against kind of... Even though the ECHR protects people, you know, like I can do a video on the ECHR and the protections they give to kind of ordinary civilians and citizens kind of across Europe. But they're using this as a massive stick in the culture war, really.
Was making, if I may just elaborate, was that there are instances where the ECHR is forcing or leading the decision makers to take lethal action.
You could have said that in
for
your
example,
video,
by calling in. Let me just finish the point.
No,
this is an important one.
But this is what
by
you
calling
said
in a
your
drone
video.
strike.
You reduced that to a very specific and stark phrase. You said our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists.
Michelle,
I just want to be clearly,
I think,
those were your words in that
Michelle,
video.
I think
Do you
this
know that is happening?
This is a very serious and stark situation.
Is this
because, for example,
are our special forces doing this right now?
Well, there are, as Ben Wallace has said in that interview, decision makers are being asked to make decisions which they might not ordinarily make. For example, to call in a drone strike and take lethal action in that way, rather than a surgical action where special forces might go in on the...
But I think, you know, with the military, I think they'd always go with the drone strike. You know, more often than not, go for the drone strike option rather than trying to break into a building where they don't know if there are traps and things like that. You know, the drone strike would be the safer option, no?
Using our special forces now, you use the present tense. Are you accusing them of killing rather than capturing terrorists? Why did you say these words?
I'm defending our armed forces.
You don't get it by using this defence. You're attacking them by saying that they are making decisions to kill people rather than capture them. That is the charge you are making here. You know, you can use that to attack the ECHR, but you still have to make the accusation first in order to defend the troops second. That's the problem he's running into. It's the chain order of argument.
Don't want to see is our human rights apparatus impacting the ability of our armed forces to take the most sensible decisions for their own safety and for the safety of the British public.
More carefully in this
No, I don't.
Well, he put it in an attack ad, didn't he? So I guess he's really not going to check his words, really. It's for maximum effect.
So you stand by the words that our special forces are killing
I don't agree, Michelle.
Terrorists.
The point I was making was absolutely correct and is backed up by the interview that was given by our former Defence Secretary.
You can't back up now that our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists.
Well, Michelle, of course I'm not going to elaborate on...
Oh, can we have examples? No, of course I can't give you examples. And, you know, Tom Tugendhat really going after Robert Jenrick over this stuff here.
I want to ask you about something that's happened on the campaign trail in terms of the Tory leadership contest. And it's a video that Robert Jenrick, one of the contenders, put out, one of his campaign videos. Just have a look.
Our special forces are killing rather than capturing terrorists because our lawyers tell us that if they're caught, the European court will set them free.
What do you think of that?
I mean, you're telling me the European court would set potential terrorists free? Like, are you stupid?
Well, first of all, it's factually wrong. It simply isn't true. That would be a breach of the law of armed conflict, and it would be a violation of the values and standards of the British Armed Forces. I've spoken to a few former directors of Special Forces today, friends of mine who have commanded operations are the ones that are referred to there. It's just not true, and it would be wrong to do so.
Special Forces are not killing rather than capturing terrorists?
That is simply not true. It is not true that Special Forces are doing that. It is also not true that the ECHR prevents us conducting kinetic strikes, as they're called, often military operations against military targets. It just isn't true. And what's particularly upsetting is that video is using a piece of footage of some of the people I served with, one of whom there died shortly after that film was taken in an accident, and is not able to defend himself from the accusation that is...
So Tom Tugendhat was a person who served in the military?
Effectively being levelled against him.
So that is actually footage?
Yes.
Of somebody you knew?
Yes, that's footage of a soldier in northern Afghanistan in around 2002.
How do you feel about that, then?
Well, I do not think that we should be using footage of our Special Forces soldiers in operations.
And, you know, Jenrick is using that in a propaganda hit piece against the ECHR. That's how scummy this guy is.
Should Robert Jenrick remove that footage?
I would not put that video out. In fact, I'd put it down.
And should he clarify what he meant?
I'm afraid I'm not sure clarification is the problem. It's a complete and fundamental misunderstanding of what it is to be a military commander on operations and what the ECHR has an effect on in time of war. I published 2 papers on this in 2013 and 2015 for Policy Exchange, the first called The Fog of Law, the second Clearing the Fog of Law, on the effect that the ECHR has on the battlefield and why I believe that we need to opt out of certain elements of it, reform others, and, if necessary, be prepared to make other decisions. But this is simply factually incorrect.
So he needs to withdraw his remarks and apologise?
Well, I think this video is simply wrong.
Right.
And, you know, with the Tories, you know, generally, they started off their attacks on the ECHR with, you know, the Rwanda scheme because they knew the court would block it. And now you've got them attacking the ECHR again on, you know, really spurious grounds here. And it's been picked apart by one of their own, really, another leadership contender in Tom Tugendhat. I always make jokes about him, call him Tom Tog on his hat, whatever. But, you know, the fact is, he is right on this, and what Jenrick is doing is actually awful. You know, you got Lewis Goodall saying Jenrick's new Conservative Party sounded quite a lot like the Reform Party, and that's the party he's trying to emulate here. He doesn't care about facts. It's all about appealing to emotion here.
Sees a Britain fated for decline, needing more migration, more tax, more spend.
It's literally what you guys did. Immigration increased under your watch, taxes increased under your watch, and spending increased under your watch. So what are you talking about?
Woke. The country needs a leader. Instead, with Starmer, we've got an undertaker.
So he's managed to decline, but okay.
And what about the cabinet? What about our new cabinet? Well, Rachel Reeves, as wooden as Pinocchio, and only barely more honest.
Have you seen Rishi Sunak, mate? As wooden as come on.
And then we've got Ed Miliband. Whoever tells you the grown-ups are back in charge, look at Ed Miliband.
Ed Miliband would destroy you, little bro. Ed Miliband will, honestly, I would put money on Ed Miliband winning a debate against Robert Jenrick on 9 out of 10 topics. So little bro here, like, needs to stand down on that one.
A Wallace missing his grommet.
Ha 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 ha, 2015 wants their joke back.
And then...
The crazy thing is, you know, Wallace is kind of a genius, so...
And then there's David Lammy, our Foreign Secretary. Living proof that there is a more annoying LBC presenter than James O'Brien.
I mean, that one there is not too bad, but, you know, some of the LBC presenters, like, they're not that great, so... Again, it's a swing and a miss, really. Going back to Tom Tugendhat.
Armed forces are being forced to kill rather than detain terrorists because of the ECHR.
No, I don't, and I'm afraid I'm extremely concerned about the use of language that suggests that it is appropriate to resist arrest and not to surrender to British Armed Forces when you're asked to do so. That risks making life much more dangerous for our soldiers. I also think it's inappropriate to comment about Special Forces operations.
Why do you think he's doing it?
I'm afraid that's for him to answer.
Which is true, it is for him to answer, considering he's wrong, and, you know, he got called out on it. There's just more of kind of the longer clip.
Do you feel about Robert Jenrick saying that our Special Forces are killing because they're unable to capture?
Sorry, he's wrong. That simply isn't true. I've spoken to former directors of Special Forces today, and quite a lot of people are rather angry that this suggests that they are not living up to the values and standards of the British Armed Forces. It is simply incorrect, and those who do not understand military operations or the law of armed conflict should not be commenting on it.
And I think the media are really hounding the wrong guy here. They should have gone after Jenrick, not gone after Tom Tugendhat.
Look, I have
have served alongside many of our brave men and women in our armed forces. Let me be absolutely clear. Our armed forces obey the law. They obey the law of armed conflict, and they do not conduct extrajudicial actions. I'm afraid the suggestions that they would demonstrate a fundamental lack of awareness of military operations, the command chain, and the nature of the law in the armed forces. I spoke to a recently retired Director of Special Forces this morning.
And that's kind of the running theme, I think, of Jenrick's campaign, spreading this kind of misinformation and just being asked about it continuously. This Penny Mordaunt clip's hilarious.
Are they killing people rather than capturing people because of the Human Rights Act?
Sorry, I'm actually lost my guest that I'm supposed to be looking after at the moment. Thank you.
She just ran away. And Jenrick being confronted on donations he received, £75,000 from a company, which, she covers this quite well.
The £75,000 donation that you have received through this company, Spot Fitness, are you absolutely confident that you know where that comes from and what the person who gave it wants in return?
Which again, this is a key question here. What do they want in return? Especially when this company seems a bit fishy at best.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's normal for companies as well as individuals to donate to political parties and campaigns. If you stand for leader of any party, you have to raise money. We don't want the taxpayer to be paying for these things.
I'd rather have the taxpayer do it, to be honest with you. And the other thing is, he's right, though. It is normal. And that's one of the problems. These donations are normal in British politics. And that's one of the things I hate about it.
This is a donation from a British company with British shareholders. The businessman behind it has made himself known. It's a sports fitness business. And we've donated...
How do they make such big losses if they're just sport fitness?
We've registered it in the correct legal manner, and so there's nothing...
everything's above board, no rules were broken. Where have I heard that one before?
Improper here at all.
OK, a company that has no employees, has never made a profit, has more than £300,000 worth of debt, and in January registered a loan from a company registered in the British Virgin Islands. But you're saying nothing to see here.
Well, this is a startup business, which is, as I understand it, developing...
A startup business in 300k worth of debt with no employees. What are they starting up? A burning cash business?
An app for sports fitness. And
how are they doing that with no employees, dog?
It's a perfectly legitimate business. It's very normal for political parties and campaigns to take donations.
We've heard that line before. The problem is this company looks incredibly dodgy.
From companies. That happens all the time, and it's right that we do that, because I don't want to live in a country where the taxpayer is funding leadership campaigns or political parties. That's not right. So we have to rely on legitimate individuals and businesses to come forward and support...
I mean, they don't sound very legitimate.
Political parties. And I think that's part of the political process. It's actually part of public service.
He gives me big, not Ted Cruz vibes, Marco Rubio vibes, because he keeps going off the same answer, I find, like, the standard of British politicians seems to be incredibly low when you've got people just reading off the same answer again and again.
It's surprising they've got no employees. I mean, none. What is it?
That's such a dramatic turn.
Is it something you've asked, Robert Jenrick?
Yeah, I have asked. I've met the individual behind, and he's put out a statement saying that it's a business that's creating an app. It's a startup business.
Again, how are you creating an app when you have no employees? Is he creating the app himself?
He wants to support me because he agrees with some of my views, for example, on immigration. Millions of people across the country support what I'm standing for here, which is controlling our borders, ensuring we finally get a grip on the mass migration that we've experienced.
Again, you were in government when that happened, so for you to attack yourselves is really crazy to me.
Many years. I'm pleased that, as well as party members, individuals want to make private...
if the Tories make this guy their leadership candidate, I think they're gonna lose real bad. Jenrick talking about this.
Party on the three biggest issues facing the country: our borders, the economy, and the NHS. And
so you've completely dismantled the NHS. You've the borders. You've fumbled those. So you haven't got that one, and the economy got hit by Liz Truss, and 14 years of Tory managed decline. So 3 for 3 really. That's a strikeout, isn't it?
Repeatedly, I've returned to each of those time and again over the course of the leadership election. I think that we have to listen to the public.
and repent for some of those mistakes. You know, growth.
Have you got any ideas about how to fix the economy or how to fix the NHS?
Absolutely.
Well, give me 2 or 3.
Well, look at the economy. I think we've got to get real growth going again in this
I've heard this one before as well. You know, we need to get growth going. How are you going to achieve it?
economy.
That's what Labour says.
Well, let me expand on that. That means building more in this country. It means a different policy on energy.
Building more to sell to who? What are you going to make in this country? Like, apart from the only way you got some manufacturers set up in this country is by offering massive subsidies. What are you looking to build here? Sell to who? For what?
So you agree with Labour's abolition of planning controls?
Well, firstly, they haven't abolished planning controls. They've ended up slashing the housing targets in the big cities and hiking them in the countryside. So I mean,
it makes sense to build more housing in the countryside because it's the countryside. You know, if you get more people kind of moving away from the bigger towns and cities, it puts more money into the countryside and takes the pressure off housing costs in the cities.
That's a fundamentally unserious policy. But let me finish my point.
You know, you're fundamentally unserious, bro.
I want to have a different energy policy as a country. So we go for cheap and reliable energy to help households.
So he's talking about fossil fuels there. He's talking about probably like coal and things like that. You know, things that are really bad for the climate. And we've already covered Tom Tugendhat's kind of response to all of this. I think it's just crazy to me. Like, he's clearly put out a video attacking the armed forces, in my opinion. And, he's barely suffered for it because instead of talking to the guy who actually said the comments, for some reason, the media seem obsessed with the guy who attacked the comments in Tom Tugendhat. Maybe he's made himself more available, or maybe he's, trying to get about and they keep cornering him at, location or whatever. But I think it's very stupid to... He's offered his rebuttal. Tugendhat offered his rebuttal, which is Jenrick is wrong, which is true. And then you've got them questioning Tom Tugendhat consistently on his response. It doesn't make any sense. But here you have another disaster class in Tory leadership. He's attacked British armed forces, has no real answers, has one of the worst stand-up routines I've ever seen. In the jokes he made there. 2015, ha 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 ha. But he's just abysmal. Honestly, I really don't want him to be Tory leader because he's a scumbag. He's an absolute melon. I'd rather see Tom Tugendhat, to be honest with you. I think he's probably the best out of the 4. Maybe Cleverly, but Cleverly's a bit... they're all really bad, to be honest. Can I have none of the above, please? But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.